Okay, so I would like to go through this question about the nurses working a day shift and nurses working a night shift and make a confidence interval about their job, their positive job satisfaction. Okay, so what I did first was I decided to label the proportion, all right, from the sample for the nurses that work from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. as the day shift. So I used a capital D for the subscript. And then for the other nurses that are working from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. would be the night shift. All right, so I put a subscript N for night shift. All right? So the formula to do this, all right, is going to be P hat sub D minus P hat sub N plus or minus Z star times the standard error of that difference. Okay? Now, let's see if you remember how we're going to do the standard error of that difference. Okay, so it's going to be the square root. All right, what's going to go first in this fraction? It's going to go first in this fraction. Very good. So P times Q, but we're going to make sure that it's from a sample. So we're going to add hats. And it's from the first group of nurses here, all right, which means that they are the day shift. So it's going to be P hat sub D times Q hat sub D all over, remember, goes in the bottom, the sample size, N, very good. All right, plus, because we're doing variances, add. The same thing, but this time, Jarvis, we're talking about the night shift, okay? So P hat sub N times Q hat sub N over N sub N. Okay, so this right here is going to replace the standard error. So I'll make sure you understand where I'm getting that from, and you won't have to memorize that. It's not going to have the D and the N. I have 1 and 2, all right, for the formula. Okay, are we ready to plug in some stuff? All right, let's plug in some stuff. I'll switch colors so you know I'm plugging in. Okay, so what is the proportion of nurses that are working the day shift that expressed positive job satisfaction? That's the sample size. What's the proportion? 84%. So as a decimal, I'm going to write 0.84 minus, what's that same proportion but for the other shift, the night shift? Very good. So I'm going to write 0.72. Plus or minus, so let's see if you remember. Z star for a 90% confidence interval. No one has said it yet. He said it. He just waited. 1.645. All right? That's for 95. Okay? Times, and now I'm going to put all that stuff in here. Okay? So what I do when I write the work down is I go back to my very first proportion. All right, so this 0.84 is going to kick us off in that radical. So 0.84. So if 84% of the day shift nurses are expressing positive satisfaction, how many are not? Very good. All over, how many nurses did they ask? They asked 125 from the day shift, so that's why 125 plus. Now, Yoreth is not here, but she asked about this yesterday, and some of you may have remembered her asking about this. I think, Jarvis, you kind of were thinking the same thing yesterday. You'll notice that the denominators are not the same. All right, so even though in yesterday's problem they were both 75, they don't have to be the same number. Okay, so just be careful. Make sure your brain is organizing this. This is from the first group. This is from the second group. All right, everybody okay so far? Any questions about setting it up? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I think we can all do this subtraction in our heads, 84% minus 72%. that's going to be 12%, right? But ultimately, what I care about is the margin of error. All right, so in the calculator, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my z star of 1.645 times that standard error. I'm going to do it all in one fell swoop. Okay, so I would highly recommend utilizing the N over D button in this calculator to allow you to type in those fractions. Okay? I got 0.08. Nice. Got the same thing. I guess technically I got 0.081 if we're going to round, but I would accept Charlie's 0.08. Okay? So our margin of error is about 8%. Right? So we think that the difference in their positive job satisfaction is about 12% with a margin of error of about 8%. Okay? Now, from here, you would add and subtract to get your interval. But I would like to go to the computer or your phone to see what it looks like when we use some technology. Okay? So if you go to the email that I sent you yesterday that says 2 proportion z interval. So looking for that email I sent yesterday, 2 proportion z interval. The second one I sent you yesterday. But just if you look for 2 proportion z interval, look for the word interval. Okay, so let's do the number of favorable cases for our first group of nurses. All right? Now, for this is a little tricky because did they tell us how many nurses in the day shift are expressing positive job satisfaction? They didn't. They just said 84%. So to find this, we have to multiply 0.84 times how many nurses did they ask in the day shift? 125. So let's see how many that is. 105 exactly. So I'm going to type in 105. Okay? How many nurses did they ask in the day shift? 125. Okay, everybody good so far? I'll slow down. Am I going too fast? I can slow down. No, okay. So now for the second group, it's the same thing. They told us 72% of the night shift nurses. All right, but be careful here because when we multiply, how many nurses did they ask in the night shift? 150, so it's different. So just don't make sure your brain is focused on this one. And that's 108. Okay? And they asked 150. Come on. Okay? Now, I wanted you to practice that, but if you look at what comes next, what could you have done? You could have typed in 0.84 and 0.72. Okay? So I'll leave it up to you what you want to do. All right? But I wanted you to see how you can actually do this without typing in there. Okay? So let's scroll down. All right. Where is it? Oh. Come on. Did I click an ad accidentally? I might have. There we go. Well, no, I need to put in the... Why is this being all funky? I don't know what's happening. Can you guys type in your confidence level? Can you type in your confidence level? For some reason, I'm having trouble. Keeps going past it. Let me see if I put my keyboard on, if that works. And what level of confidence are we using? 90. So you can type in 90 or 0.9. It's up to you. Let's see if this works. Nope. I'm going to reload. Reload. Okay. All right. Well, mine's being all funky. But you guys get something? Wait. Here we go. I got there. 0.9. Oh, you know what? I probably need to type in everything as well. Yep. Okay. What do we say? It was 105 out of 125? Yeah. And 108 out of 150? Yeah. Okay, great. Don't convert to PDF. I don't want it. Oh, come on. We're looking for the answer. I mean, I'm looking for the button that says start. Yes, the integral. Come on! This is going to be the best video I've ever made. What if I just tab it? Can I tab it? Tab, tab, tab. Yes. God. College, right? Hashtag college ready. All right, did you guys get an answer? Okay, so can I cheat off yours, Catherine? Great. All right, so the lower part, thank you, is 0.039, and the upper is 0.201. Okay? Now watch the sentence that I'm going to write here. I'm going to write the sentence that goes with this. A little bit different than what we've done before. Okay? I am 90% confident that the proportion of job satisfaction between the day shift and night shift is between points, I guess I'll do percentage now, 3.9% and 20.1% higher. So if you're looking at this data, I'll let you guys kind of write that down. Yeah. Well, I skipped something. I skipped the assumptions and conditions, right? So, it's all I'm going to do. But yes, you have to do those. And in the key that I post, I will still have all of it, as you can see. Now, let's come at this with two questions or two thoughts. My first thought is, if I want to go into nursing, and this is real, and I'm reading this, all right, what am I thinking about when it comes to what shift I would be interested in? Well, based on this, we're saying that the day shift, all right, if I work the day shift, I'm 90% confident that those nurses that work the day shift are going to say that their job satisfaction is positive between 3.9 percentage points higher and 20 percentage points higher. Okay, now if it's only like 4% higher, that's not that big a deal. But we're talking about it could go all the way up to 20. That's a big difference. All right, and we can talk about why people might not express as much job satisfaction if they're working a night shift. Right, tough to actually get sleep. Our bodies are not built that way. Okay. Now, really the main thing though that I want you to take away is we did not run a test. You see how this is not a test? Okay, but if we ran a test, thank you. If we ran a test, okay, we would assume that there's no difference in these positive job satisfaction percentages. Okay? So if we assume there's no difference, look at the interval. What is the interval missing? You're going from basically 4% to 20%. What's not in our interval? No, there's something even more. 0.12 should be right in the middle, right? 12%. Not alpha. We're not talking about alpha right now. Well, we're talking about a test, but not alpha. Let me try to say it again. We're not running a test. But yesterday when we ran the test, we assumed, right, the null hypothesis, that they were the same, that the difference should be 0. So what do you see is not in here? 0. Okay? So we're saying that when I look at this, right, even though we didn't run a test, if I ran a test, because 0 is not in here, I bet if I ran a test, I would end up rejecting that these job satisfaction percentages are equal. I would end up concluding that they're different, right? And that is why I look here and see that 0 is not here. So if I see 0, then I know that they could be the same. But if I don't see 0 in my interval, then we must conclude that they are different. All right, that's just trying to connect it for you. Okay? All right, so I want